Australian true crime story. The disappearance of Suzie Pearce. In 1990, Adelaide was already a city shadowed by tragedy. The 1960s had seen the Beaumont children vanish from Glenelg Beach. The 1970s brought the horror of the Truro murders and whispers of organized exploitation in the family murders. South Australians had grown used to headlines about disappearances and unanswered crimes. But even in a place already haunted by mystery, the case of Suzie Pearce, known lovingly as Suzie, still stood out. Suzie was 22 years old when she vanished. She had just moved into a flat in North Adelaide, full of excitement for her independence and what the future might hold. Friends remembered her as adventurous, lively, and always ready with a laugh. Her family described her as warm-hearted, reliable, and deeply connected to them. Suzie wasn't someone who drifted away without telling anyone. She had plans for the days ahead, and she had every reason to look forward to life. One evening, she went out with friends. It was ordinary, the kind of night countless young people in Adelaide enjoyed. But sometime between those friendly goodbyes and the walk back to her flat, something went terribly wrong. Suzie never came home. When her family realized she hadn't returned, alarm bells rang immediately. This wasn't like her. Calls went unanswered. Days stretched into weeks. Police began their search, retracing her last known movements and questioning those who had seen her. When they checked her flat, the scene was unsettling. Everything was normal. Her belongings were untouched, her clothes in place, nothing disturbed. There was no sign of struggle, no sign she had left willingly. It was as though she had stepped out briefly and simply never returned. The investigation gained attention, but Adelaide was already struggling with a series of missing persons cases. Suzie's name joined a growing list of unsolved mysteries. Detectives pursued leads, followed up on witness reports, and issued public appeals, but none led to answers. Over the decades, theories surfaced and resurfaced. Some believed she had been targeted by an opportunistic attacker, perhaps someone who noticed her walking alone. Others suggested connections to predators already known in South Australia, the kind linked to other disappearances around the same time. Adelaide had a reputation for harboring dark secrets, and many wondered if Suzie's disappearance was one more piece of a much larger puzzle. But nothing concrete ever emerged. No body was found, no arrests were made. For her family, that lack of closure became a lifelong wound. They spoke often of Suzie not as a case number, not as a headline, but as their daughter, their sister, their friend. They remembered her energy, her warmth, her dreams that would never be fulfilled. Year after year, they begged for answers. Year after year, they were met with silence. For the community, her disappearance became part of Adelaide's grim folklore, a reminder that behind every famous case there are others just as tragic. Suzie's story was not as widely known as the Beaumont children, nor as sensationalized as Snowtown, but to those who loved her, her loss was every bit as devastating. More than 30 years have now passed. Each new review of her case sparks brief hope that fresh evidence might be uncovered, that someone might finally come forward. But each time, the trail runs cold again. The truth remains buried. Today, Suzie Pearce's disappearance is still one of South Australia's most haunting unsolved mysteries. Her flat in North Adelaide is long since occupied by others, her friends and family forced to live on without her. But her memory endures not just as another missing person, but as a young woman full of promise who never had the chance to grow old. The streets of Adelaide look ordinary, but for those who remember Suzie, they are heavy with silence. Somewhere out there is the truth of what happened that night. Until it is uncovered, Suzie's story remains a chilling reminder of how quickly light can vanish into darkness, and how long shadows can linger when justice never comes. Please like and subscribe for more true crime, mysteries, and cold case stories.